Swag, bitch.
Hey guys, in this video we're going to discuss if you should take your car to a shop to get your turbo installed or if you try to do it yourself. We're gonna go over different examples of other YouTubers that had different experiences with shops and doing it themselves. And yeah, hopefully you find this video informative. You always have your own way, so you can comment which way do you think is better, and if you're boosted you can let us know also how you got your car boosted. Do you do it yourself, and which kit do you have? For anyone that is trying to boost their Z or D or whatever car they want, this doesn't really apply to any specific car, but I'm mainly gonna be talking about, like, should you take your car to a shop or should you try to install a kit yourself, or boost the car yourself? You could put a kit together. So obviously everything depends on a lot of things. For me myself is the one thing is, like, I kind of knew that I could try to put the kit myself. It didn't seem that hard. I had to do a lot of stuff, but nothing too crazy. That's one of the reasons why I try to do it myself. And the other thing is, I wanted the experience of doing it myself, like the satisfaction that I built the car myself. So if you're looking for that too, that's another thing that you're gonna get from this. Obviously it's gonna be a lot of frustration with every step. You're gonna get stuck every now and then and you're gonna feel like giving up the build, but you just gotta keep pushing, or at that point maybe even just take it to a shop. So if couple reasons if you want to take it to a shop is, one, how hard it is to install the kit. If it is like a completely custom kit, like if you have it fab at a shop, or they're gonna fab the kit and then they're gonna build it, like they're gonna install it on your car, then definitely try to get it done by a shop, because then they know like how everything goes, while you are gonna be trying to figure it out where everything goes and make sure that you push it right. Because if not, at least for a top mount kit, then you could burn like a lot of components from all the heat of the exhaust that is gonna be touching a lot of the harnesses and stuff like that. If it is a simple kit like a rear mount or a mid mount, you can definitely do it yourself, but that also depends on how comfortable you are working on cars. I hadn't done anything crazy on my car. I think the craziest thing I had done was my valve covers, but I have always done the exhaust on my cars and spark plugs, injectors, like little small stuff, intakes, nothing crazy. But I kind of knew that this wasn't gonna be like that hard to do, so that's why I also try to do it myself. What I was trying to say here is that doing small stuff on your car is gonna build up confidence to do other bigger projects. Another thing is to make sure that you have all the tools. If not, you're just gonna have to be going to AutoZone or Harbor Freight, Walmart, wherever you buy your tools from, to get the specific tools that you might need. A lot of kits don't really require you to have like really expensive tools, but you're definitely gonna need a good amount of tools to install each kit. At least for a top mount, you're definitely gonna need a couple of different tools. It also depends how many things they're installing. If they're also doing your gauges, if they're doing a fuel return kit, your fuel pump, your injectors, all that stuff, or if it's just doing the piping and stuff like that. So like you have to take a lot of things into consideration. Also, if you have a reputable shop that you have nearby that you can take your car to, and that they will take good care of it and they will do a good job, and not just like that you receive your car and you're missing bolts and stuff, or like everything's loose, everything's leaking. Because the worst part is, like, if you get it done by a shop and then there's something wrong with the car, it's hard to figure it out what's wrong with the car, because you didn't do it, so you don't know if they messed with something that they should have messed. Like, it gives you a headache to try to find a solution, and then they'll probably charge you even more for them to fix it, because then they're gonna say like, oh no, we did everything right. Also, you might do a pull thinking that everything's good with the car, and you know, you could blow your engine because maybe you had like a big leak of oil or coolant and you didn't notice it while you were driving the car, and then you went to do a pull and you know, you blow up the engine. Something happened, the car overheats. So that's the main thing, to have a shop that you can trust. I mean, we saw what happened with that Supra, that one of the mechanics took it out for a test drive and completely totaled the car. When I was looking on videos on how to install this kit, I couldn't really find one. I just found one for an IPO from Corey, which helped me a lot, but you know, I couldn't find one specific for a 350Z. But I found other ones for G37s and whatnot, and a lot of them that had them done by the shops, they had issues like that they needed to get addressed with other shops, because then that shop didn't want to take ownership over those problems. So you know, it was a whole ordeal. So imagine paying like $3 grand, $4 grand to get your turbo kit installed, and then they do a bad job and you have to spend more money to fix whatever they did. With my kit, I'm gonna show you guys now. So when I first started up the car, I run into a couple leaks. The car's still leaking some stuff and I still have some issues, but you know, I have an idea of what every issue was. And the car runs fine. Like, I can start up, I can drive the car. It's just like, you know, there's some things that I need to fix with time, but just knowing that I didn't pay anyone and then I have these issues, this peace of mind, because at least I didn't spend $4,000. Like, I could have bought, you know, 5 engines, 5 HR motors with that money, if anything. But let me just go over them. So the first few issues that I had, that I noticed it right when we first started up the car, was that these 3 lines were not completely tightened. I forgot, I screwed them in, but I didn't tighten them correctly, so they were leaking oil and coolant. But obviously it was an easy fix, which is we just tightened that, and then they were not leaking anymore. Then we're going to take out the car, and we noticed a huge leak from this side, from coolant, and we thought that it could have been the thermostat or the water pump. I had changed the thermostat and it was still leaking, so at that point I thought it was the water pump. I started freaking out, because I mean, that's not even my fault, but my tuner pointed out that it could be from the hard line. So I removed this pipe and looked under and noticed that a lot of the coolant was leaking on the heat shield of the manifolds. So I discovered later on that it was just this coolant line, the short one, that I just didn't tighten up the clamp enough, and it was leaking down. It was leaking all the way up to here, and that's why it looked like it was coming from the side of the motor, hence the water pump, but it wasn't that. So I did that, and then after that we're able to put a base map on the car to drive it around, so the car drives perfectly fine around. I just cannot go into boost yet, but the main thing that I wanted was to drive the car around. I can still hear the turbo, so that's pretty sweet. I have to make an exhaust video, but the exhaust sounds way better now that the car is boosted. So the other issues that I have is I don't have power steering right now for some reason. I'll try to show you guys, but my power steering is leaking from here, this bracket right there, you cannot see it, but this bracket right here, this one, whenever I put power steering fluid on the reservoir, it goes, you know, all the way here, and it just starts leaking right away. So I should have checked that before putting the turbo, but I didn't think that it was gonna be leaking. So another thing to do is if you're gonna install a turbo kit, check every part, not just the turbo, but also like any other components that you're gonna get with the turbo kit. For this turbo kit, you have to change your power steering pump because you need to use a power steering pump from, I think, from like I think like a 2013 2014 power steering pump. And you can use the same bracket at least for the 350 CHR. I'm not sure about the G's, but I think Corey had to change his bracket on the G37. So when I got mine, that bracket was already installed, so I didn't have to do installation for that. So that's another reason why I didn't shake it. And it already had the lines. I just had to cut this line, so it was the size that I needed. So yeah, it leaks a ton of power steering fluid every time I put it in, so I don't have power steering right now, so it's pretty hard to drive it with no power steering. And then to remove that bracket, I'm most likely gonna have to remove the turbo, because like the bolt that is in there is kind of rounded. So yeah, I'm gonna have to use pliers to remove it, and I don't have enough space there to remove with pliers. So that's another issue that I don't want to deal with right now. So right now I'm just driving the car with power steering, I mean without power steering. The other issue that you guys are gonna see right now is that, so I do have some of that is from the power steering fluid, and some of that is oil. So I think that oil, I thought that it might have been from my drain line, oil drain line, but I just turned on the car like an hour ago and turn it back off, and as you can see there's no oil. And obviously there should have been some oil. I mean, actually there's a little bit of oil, but like it's very little oil too. To say that is from the drain line. So I think most of that oil is draining from the oil pan spacer, and I would need to fix that first. Because yeah, every time I use the car, then it just leaks a ton of oil. So that's where we're sitting right now with the Z. As you can see, we have some issues, but they're not like big issues. And since I did the work, I know what was wrong with the car, what could have been wrong with the car. The car started up good on the first try. There were no issues at all, and I haven't had any issues with the car starting up at all ever since everything was installed. The other thing that doesn't work is the level sensor on the fuel pump, on the fuel basket, my bad. But I already knew that it wasn't gonna work ahead of time. Sorry, because who I bought it from told me that it wasn't working on his car, so I already knew that it was not gonna work. And I didn't want to disassemble mine because I want to use it for another fuel pump that I'm going to install in the future. So I just gotta keep in mind how much fuel I'm putting in the car. That way I know if I need to fuel up or not. And anyway, since this is a car that it's not gonna be a daily car, I don't think that should be much of a problem. So the main thing is that I know if I'm going to take it out, I should put at least a little bit of gas, and I should have an idea of how much gas I have. But going back to the topic of if you should install the kit yourself or take it to a shop, like I said, it also depends on how complex your build is. Are you just doing a build like mine, that you're gonna be making like low numbers for these cars? Like I'm not gonna be doing anything crazy. I don't have a fuel return kit, I don't have a boost controller, so I just did a basic installation kit, and if you're gonna be doing a fuel return kit and a boost controller, that brings, you know, a whole set of problems that you can have with the car if they're not installed correctly. A good example of this is little David Garcia. If you watch his videos, he had a problem with his throttle bodies, not his throttle bodies, but basically his throttle bodies were not opening all the way for the longest time, and he kept like trying to figure it out if it was the throttle body. So he got new throttle bodies, he got a new ECU, he got a lot of new stuff, and it turned out that I think his boost controller was not wired correctly, and that's why his car was running into all those issues. So at the end of the day, it wasn't even like any of those components that were failing. It was just like installation error of whoever did his boost controller, or I think it was the boost controller. I don't think it was a fuel return kit. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind. That's why I'm telling you, if you have a shop that you can trust, like for example, if I had Soho here, like I don't know, like 20-30 minutes from here, and I would be fine with spending, like, I don't know how much they charge to install one of these kits, but let's say $3,000, then yeah, I would definitely give it to them, because they have, you know, they have a good reputation in building customer cars. They have a lot of cars making over 1,000 horsepower, no issues, and you know, putting a turbo kit with no fuel return kit or boost controller shouldn't be too hard for them to do that on this car. So that's a company that I would trust with my car. I don't know that many companies around here. The only one that I know, I think it's called MCP, and I mean, they're not bad, but like I said, I knew I could install this kit on my own, and if I was gonna run into issues, all the money that I save on the labor, I could put it on to fixing that. So far, I haven't really spent any money. It was just stupid mistakes, you know, like tightening all that stuff. But the thing with the power steering pump, I just need to probably remove the turbo, get the power steering pump out, and remove the bracket, see why it's leaking, and just install it correctly, and that's it. And just put everything back together. Shouldn't take me too long. I've just been lazy, and I just want the car to get tuned first, feel the boost, and then maybe later when I have more energy, do it myself. Yeah, I hope that helps some people. I know that there's a lot of controversy right now with what happened with Griffin's car, and with the car at the dyno making like almost 900 wheel at 33 psi, and then, you know, everyone's pointing fingers. And like someone said in the comment, it was like a lack of oversight of like a project manager that was making sure that the build had everything that it was needed. You know, it had a good engine, so it was pretty good for having those 1,000 horsepower engines. They have it on several cars that are making over 1,000. You know, admin has been tuning for years, whatever, and you know, they fabbed the turbo kit, but they didn't look into the headers. They should have noticed that those headers, I guess, were not good to making that kind of power. So someone should have noticed that and say like, hey, you need to change these headers, because you need bigger primaries to pass all that air. If not, you're gonna have issues with the airflow of the car, or the turbo kit, whatever. Things like that. Not to worry about that stuff in this build, because this build is pushing, and like, you know, it's not gonna be pushing any crazy power. Like I said, I'm just running 7-pound springs, so the car is gonna be limited to those 7-pound psi. So 7-pound psi is like 450 wheel. So that's nothing crazy for this motor. Should be able to handle it. If it blows up, it blows up. It's part of the game. But I know that I can just go and buy an engine for like $500, $600, maybe $1,000, and, you know, put it back, and we're back on the road. But if you're gonna do a build like that for 1,000 horsepower, something crazy like that, then I would definitely try to at least, if you already bought the engine from Soho, I would just get everything done with them, you know, all the turbo kit, tuning, everything. That way there's no pointing fingers when something goes south. But I don't blame him either. I don't blame Griffin. I know that it's a lot of stuff that, you know, you have to look after. Like, there's a lot that goes into these builds. So I definitely overlooked some stuff myself when I was installing this kit. So if I overlooked something simple, some simple stuff on this kit, I can imagine all the stuff that goes into that kit. That is way more complex. That is a lot of custom stuff that, you know, anyone could have easily missed. But I think that they could have handled the situation a little bit better. But that's not for me to say. I'm not an expert in building engines or tuning cars or turbo kits, so I cannot blame anyone. I cannot say whose fault it was. Just saying that if you're gonna go with something like that, just try to get everything done in one place, and that way they can take care of anything if anything decides to fail. Because then, for example, if Soho would have installed a kit and they would have noticed that, then they would have probably told him, you need to change this before we continue. And then they would have done that, and, you know, he right now he would have probably had his 1000 horsepower 370Z. But you live and you learn. Who knows how long this engine's gonna last on this car. I still need to fix, like I said, the oil leak and the power steering pump, but other than that, the car is pretty good. It drives pretty good. It sounds amazing. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, just leave it in the comments and I'll try to make a video about it. Thank you.